Boona, and welcome to episode 60 of my Wurm Unlimited tutorial series. This episode is going to be on the pendulum and water divining. There certainly won't be no pits. Anyway, so looking at my farming patch here, you can see before me with my oven and my FSB and my BSB, you'll notice that there is something missing from this, especially if we want to make lots of dough, because making dough, as you're probably well aware now, you need lots of water. So wouldn't it be handy if we didn't have to keep going down to the shore for water? So the ideal answer to that, of course, is to get a water source nearby. So in this episode, if you're playing out in the wilds near no water, okay, because you found your perfect spot and there is no water nearby, this episode is for you, because I'm going to show you how to divine for water. Now, before I get to that though, I just want to mention a couple of things first about the current, about the competitions that I'll be running. With consideration, when Rainstorm and me started doing giving thought to these competitions, we wanted to put some sort of reward behind them, and as you know, that's now so that you can join us here in Wurm. We was a little weary at first about having people join us in the world, because we didn't know how it would affect this series, but basically we've realised, if anything, it enriches this series, especially when we can have forays into hunting trips and such like, and as more of you join, it's interesting to hear your different characters. So it's definitely a good idea us getting people to join. Now, what we're going to do with the episodes, and I've still got to speak to Rainstorm about part of this, but the first thing we decided was, when we hold a competition, anyone that wins the competition, if you have a person that you play Wurm with regularly, whether it's a friend or a spouse or a partner, we can't of course expect you to come join us on our server if your friend, your spouse, your partner can't join you, or even, you know, your children. So what we decided was that if you win the competition, if it's your friend, spouse or partner, then they can join you as well. Okay, just to show you how nice Rainstorm and me are. There you go. If you win a competition, not only can you come join us, but your friend or your spouse or your partner or your children. So if you've got more than one child, they're all welcome to come join us. Of course they are. We wouldn't have you separated from playing with them if you wish to. So there we go. Now this second thing I need to speak to Rainstorm about, because I've just sort of decided this today. You know, through the sharing of your server episode, that yes, there's a limit of 200 people on the server, but that's all at the same time. Now, because all of you are spread out across the world, of course, you're all in different time zones, so we haven't got to panic so much about filling up the server, because really it's unlimited, you know, and there's not much chance that there's going to be that many of you all trying to log on at the same time. I do not believe. So what I thought about today is, in future, when people win a competition, we'll start with the top two top two. So for example, the current competition that's going on at the moment is baking. So the top two people will get the highest quality loaves, not just the person at the very top, but also the next one down. So that's going to allow two people to come join us rather than one, because if a competition's every 2 weeks, you know, I know there's quite a few of you out there that want to come and join us, so I want to try and be a bit more fair about it and not have to make you wait that long. Although, trust me, you're not missing anything. I try to show you, like when we go on these hunting trips, I will always share them with you all. Whenever we do a communal hunting trip, I will always make a video of us doing that. You will not miss out with that. As for what's going on here at the moment, we're still messing around in the dirt for the most of it, so you aren't missing anything. But anyway, your first opportunity for 2 new people to come join us is the 19th of January this baking competition ends. Now I know someone's got a loaf up to quality level 51, I believe, and it was very naughty of me not to go and check their name, but I'll do that in the next episode just to let you know who's currently in the lead with the baking. And I'm going to talk to Rainstorm about my idea of doubling each time we have a competition, then each time we will double the amount of winners that there can be. So that means if this baking competition can have 2 winners, then the next competition after that will have 4 winners, and etc. And I'll see how it goes, but I need to speak to Rainstorm because perhaps she may not like that. So I'll see what her thoughts are on that matter. Anyway, so there we go. That's all what I wanted to talk about with that. So you've got to the 19th of January with this baking competition. Good luck on that baking. So let's start on this episode. As you can see, up here I'm far from a water source, and so making dough and smithing and all of that, I have to keep trudging, and I don't like doing that, as you can see by the mess by my oven. I like everything at arm's reach, so I want the same for the oven. It would be nice, well, I mean, it would benefit my forge, just a lot less distance to travel it will be to get the water, as you're going to see. So what our goal for this episode is not only to create the new tool that we're going to need, we're then going to need to find the water, and then we're going to need to build a fountain on that water source, and you will see all of this in this episode. Now for this episode you are going to need access to either silver or gold. Okay, so my apologies to any of you that haven't managed to find silver or gold yet. I am intending on doing that advanced prospecting and mining episode, but I'm still working on the mine to get that episode ready. So I will do it when I can, and I will show you how to find silver and gold. So there we go. My apologies to any of you that haven't found it, but remember, there's no rush. You don't have to do any of these information that I show you in any set order. You can leave this divining for much later if you wish, but you know, for the sake of indexing, I'm going to do it now, I decided. So let's get started then. The first thing that we will need to do in this course on divining is create ourselves a pendulum. Before we can create ourselves a pendulum, we need to create the components for it. And before we create the components for our pendulum, I will go to the wonderful Wurmpedia and first read the subject of the first component of the pendulum, which is the ball. So I'll switch to Wurmpedia and read what it says about the ball. Okay, your face is reflected in this small, well-polished ball. A small metal ball made with jewellery smithing. So, as you now appreciate, when we make this ball, it's going to use the jewellery smithing skill. So, let's bring up the skills window. We're going to be using jewellery smithing. So you'll notice I've had a little trial at it. I've found that before doing an episode it's best to have a trial run at what I'm doing, and yes, I found out the hard way, and yes, you was all watching me find out the hard way in each episode, but an old dog does eventually learn new tricks, and this is one of them. Okay, carrying on Wurmpedia. Usage. Can be used to create a pendulum with a chain. The ball material determines the pendulum type. There you go. Now, very important that I've just read that one sentence to you. The ball material determines the pendulum type. Invaluable. Here is a pro tip for creating your pendulums. When you create your pendulum, always make the ball out of iron. That way, when it gets to imping your pendulum and repairing it and then imping it again, you always only have to use your iron, because as we know, silver, gold, precious materials, you certainly don't want to make it out of them, because when you mine you get a lot less of each of them ores than you do iron. So there you go, pro tip for you. Okay, carrying on under the usage. Use can be made from adamantine, brass, bronze, copper, glimmer steel, gold, iron, lead, steel, cyril or silver lump. But of course, you now know it will only be one of them, and that is iron, because that's what you will have the most of. Creation. Success chance needs to be at least 6% for this item to appear in your creation list. Well, I can tell you I started with doing this skill with 1 in my jewellery smithing. That is sufficient for you to start, so don't worry if your jewellery smithing is on 1, you can still do this, okay, because that's where I started. Okay, carrying on. The quality of the small anvil and your skill in jewellery smithing raises the success chance. Yeah, well, we'll all be starting at the beginning, won't we? So that doesn't matter, it's all good. To create it, you need jewellery smithing 1, so try creating bowls first. Okay, so you start with skill 1 in Wurm Unlimited, so not a problem. If you're in Wurm Online or a public server where they set all the skills to 0, I'm not sure, I thought Wurm Online starts at 1, but anyway, if you're on a server, a public server where they've changed it, the skill to 0, then you know you can make iron bowls to get your jewellery smithing up. There's always a way around it, so don't worry about that. Okay, that's all the reading for now from Wurmpedia. Let's just quickly switch back to my notes, and let's now show you making this ball. And it certainly isn't a ball you're going to bounce up and down or throw to a friend to play catch, not unless you want them, of course, to end up at the local hospital. So anyway, let's find the materials. Now luckily, of course, I've been prepared. The gamester does occasionally get prepared and have the materials at hand. Okay, so you'll see the forges on. So we're going to need the small anvil, you'll notice it said, and we are also going to need some iron. Well, there's some silver I prepared, but what we need is some iron. Here we go, that'll do nicely. We'll go to the recipe window now, and we will find the ball. Okay, and we are going to choose, of course, the iron ball. If we just look, you'll observe that it's going to use the jewellery smithing skill, which I've already told you, and the small anvil and a lump of iron. So let's add that to the crafting window. There we go. Let's now find the ball, which there it is at the top of the list. Yours will start very low. I think yours will start with about 16% chance. Don't be dismayed. It's not as harsh in jewellery smithing. You'll create it with ease. Maybe not the first attempt, but you will get it soon enough. Don't worry, and it only uses a little bit of iron. Okay, so here we are. Let's now click on create and get this ball made. Okay, fail. Let's try again. And fail. Now, because I've told you you're going to get it done straight away, it's going to fail a million times. Oh, there we go, we got it. So over here you can see now we have an iron ball. It doesn't weigh much, so we haven't used much iron. Right, we can put the iron away back in the forge. Now, let's see, what do we want to do next? Ah, yes, our progression on making this pendulum. So now we're going to switch back to Wurmpedia, and I shall now read you the details for the chain. Okay, the chain. A fine chain with small links. Usage, that was the description by the way. Usage, can be used to create pendulum with a ball. The quality level of the chain affects success chance. Can be made from gold or silver lump. So, this is the reason I told you at the beginning of this episode you will need access to silver or gold, because they're the only two that you can make the chain out of. And you will be using the jewellery smithing skill again. So fortunately I have struck silver in our mine, so I will put the lump of silver in my pocket. Always use your lowest qualities, never use your high qualities, always the lowest for creation, because then you can use the rest for imping. Okay, so we have that. Let's grab the small anvil, which we got already. Let's now look in. Oh, I'd finished reading from Wurmpedia, by the way. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Okay, so no, it isn't much information. So now let's type in the chain and bring it up. Okay, so if we have a look, we will see down here under jewellery, gold chain or silver chain. Well, we of course want to do the silver. So there's what we need. 1 silver lump, 1 small anvil. I have them in my pocket. We'll right click and add that to the crafting window. Now we will find the chain, which is there, and we will try and create. Our jewellery smithing is going up all the time. Okay, failed. Failed. Let's keep trying. It's all good. Our skills are going up. Yeah, keep going. You'll notice over here, by the way, it's only using 0.01, so 0.01 of the material each time we fail. And observe how much it uses for creating the chain. Not much, which is good, because when you mine silver and then you smelt it to a lump, you don't get 1 kilogram from the ore, you get 0.10. So good job that it only uses 0.10. Basically it uses 1 lump to make a chain. You know, like if you mined 1 ore from a node, 1 silver ore, and smelted it into a silver lump, it will use 1 silver lump to make your chain. So there, it's all good. Right, let's bung the silver back in the forge. Now we have our ball and our chain. We are nearly ready to progress to the pendulum. Let's just quickly check my notes to see where I wanted us to go from here. Right, okay, now we will read Wurmpedia on the pendulum. Okay, description. A pendulum with a fine chain and well polished ball. A hanging weight which can be used for divination to find water, a water source which can be tapped by building a fountain or well on the indicated spot. There is no skill involved in doing this, but the quality of the pendulum affects your divination chances. Then it's got pendulum spells. I won't go there yet because we're not onto priests, but the priests do have a spell called Lurker in the Woods, Lurker in the Deep and Lurker in the Dark, 1 for each different god, and 1 locates champion animals, 1 locates rare fishes, and 1 locates nearby enemies. But we'll be getting into priests. Plenty of time for all that. You don't want to rush tree bed, do you, Junior? Right, okay, lastly, reading under notes. The quality level of the chain affects the chance of success. The material the ball is made from determines what type of material the pendulum is made of, and therefore determines what it can be improved with. Well, I've already told you about that in a pro tip earlier, although I didn't realise it actually told us in here, but there you go, you know now for sure. Next, Wind of Ages is effective to decrease the action timer. That's a spell cast by the Venora priest. We'll get to that. In regards to dispel enchanting practices, Wind of Ages is listed first and then Lurker effects. Again, we'll get to the priest effects. There we are, that's Wurmpedia on the pendulum. Let's now make ourselves a pendulum. Okay, so we will type in the crafting recipe window. And there we go. Okay, so for this we need a chain and a ball, which we have. So we will add this to the crafting window. And check we have our pendulum in here. We do. We'll now whack that to 4 and create. We got a 55% chance because my skill is getting on quite well. And there we are, we now have a pendulum. But we're not going to use that pendulum. Oh no, we certainly are not. Because when I did my trial run earlier, guess what? Actually, you know what? I'm just going to drop that on the ground. Why not? In pure old gamester style, we're going to create a huge mess at our feet. So there we are, we've dropped that. Why has the gamester dropped it? Not because he's lost it, but because he made a rare one earlier. If I close this window, let's show you this lovely pendulum that I created earlier. There you go, look at that, check that out. Rare pendulum. Don't ask me what extra benefits I will get from it. I have no idea. If any of you do know or find out, could you please make a comment in this episode listing what the rare pendulum's benefits are? Be most appreciated. You'll notice that I did imp it up. Again, I wouldn't want to waste your time while I'm recording, so I've realised now when I'm going to use a tool, make one and imp it up. So there we go, that's just what I did. So what we'll do, we'll put that there, and now that we have our pendulum, let's put our small anvil back, and I'll check my notes to see what we're going to do next. Right, okay, next let's read what Wurmpedia says about divination. Okay, description. Divining for water allows the detection of water sources beneath the surface using a pendulum. No skills seem to be required. Tiles with water sources will automatically fill up wells, fountains and ornate fountains placed on them, but not immediately. It can take up to 10 minutes to be filled up. Now I know for a fact that somewhere else it says 15 minutes, and I do hope to show you that contradiction. Be aware, people do make mistakes, including the wonderful Wurmpedia, and I will try to remember to show you the second place where it says 15 minutes. So on the Wurmpedia website, under water divining, it says 10 minutes to fill up the fountain with water, but you'll see, is it actually, maybe if I right click on the pendulum, maybe that was where I see it. Yeah, I think it was. Let's show you. Here will tell us something different. So it shows you it's not just the gamester that makes mistakes, everyone does. It's called being a normal human being. Where is it now? Oh, what a nuisance. I found it somewhere and it said 15 minutes to fill up. I'm not going to waste your time though. I could spend ages looking for where it was that I found that. Oh, it might be actually in the, under the... I'm going to get to it actually. So there we go. Right. So anyway, that's the description. Method. Stand on a tile and right click the pendulum in your inventory, then select use. One of the outcomes below will result depending on how far away you are from the water. Placing a fountain or well on the spot where the water is detected will result in the fountain well being filled automatically. Oh, it's beautiful, and I hope to show you that in this episode. With a low quality pendulum, the pendulum will seem dead frequently on tiles where it should detect the presence of water nearby, so be aware of that. Okay, if you do not imp your pendulum get it to at least the same as mine is on quality level 26, you'll notice. Okay, if you do not get it up at least that high, you may get lots of false readings. Okay, that's what Wurmpedia is trying to tell you. Beware of the false readings. And when I right clicked on the pendulum and brought this up, it warned you here as well. You'll notice, if for those of you that read really quickly, 25% of the time you can get false readings, so be wary of that. Okay, right, continuing on. Higher quality pendulums give fewer false negatives when detecting water, but with any quality level it's worth double checking a tile that claims there is nothing to be found, just in case. So there you go, if you're on a tile and it's telling you it's dead, try it a second time. Now there are different outcomes, different messages you can get when using the pendulum. We are going to be looking at them, we are going to be seeing them, but I want to read them to you from Wurmpedia because it might be that you miss a couple of them through me showing you. The outcomes are in order of rising magnitude. Those at the end of the list indicate water is closer than those at the beginning. Please note that with a lower quality pendulum, the chance that a false negative reading will occur can be as often as 25%. So there we are. Okay, the outcomes, and this starts with the lowest result. The pendulum seems dead. There is no water nearby. or that is a false negative statement. In other words, try again and it might give you this next outcome. The next outcome, you think you detect some faint tugs in the pendulum. There is water nearby, 5 to 10 tiles away. Okay. The next outcome, the pendulum is starting to move, indicating a flow of energy somewhere near. There is water closer, 3 to 4 tiles away. The pendulum is swinging in a circle. There is probably a water source in the ground nearby. There is water very close, 2 tiles away. The pendulum swings rapidly back and forth. You are close to a water source. You are within approximately 1 tile of the water. The pendulum now swings frantically. There is something here. You are standing on the water source. So there we are. There's the wonderful Wurmpedia. I'm now going to switch back to my notes to see whether we can set off on finding our water, and we most certainly can. Enough of the waffle, let's get on with the show, or whatever it is, you watching some lunatic. Right, okay, so we'll start here, shall we? Here seems as good a space as any. The idea is, you see, I want to find a water source as near to my oven as humanly possible, because obviously it speaks for itself. I want to be able to use it in unison with making dough. So what we'll do, we activate the pendulum, we right click on it, and we left click use. Once we do this, we now monitor our event window. You think you detect some faint tugs in the pendulum. Here's where you start. So it's telling us, if you remember, that there is a water source within 5 to 10 tiles. So we're very lucky. I'm very lucky. There's a water source somewhere. Now though, the trouble is, of course, it could be west, it could be north, it could be east, or it could be south. So let's apply some logic to this. When we step in any direction 1 tile, we will recheck the message. If the message says we're dead, then we know we're going away from it. If the message says one of them other ones, that we're getting closer, then we know we're going in the right direction. So let's just try this. Let's test this, because this is one of these things, okay? The majority of you probably know how to do this. Remember, this series is for new players to Wurm. I do not expect a single person new to Wurm to understand anything I explain straight away. Therefore, I am rushing none of my episodes, because Treebeard Jr. just does not do that. He does not go there. So we go very slowly and very surely to make sure that everyone has a good chance of understanding this. Least not because there could be young viewers watching, and I hope them to be able to understand this as well. So we will step 1 tile south. Let's now try again. On the tile, get in the middle of the tile to be sure you're on that tile. Then right click your pendulum and use. The pendulum is dead. Now that's either a false statement or it means it's truly dead. Let's try again. The pendulum seems dead. Okay, the chances are that now that is a correct reading and we're going the opposite direction. So let's now turn around and let's head in the opposite direction. So let's go north. So here was the original tile. Now I'll step 1 tile in this direction towards the north. I will now right click my pendulum and use again. The pendulum seems dead. Let's try it again. The pendulum seems dead. Okay, let's try it once more. Right, yeah, it definitely does not seem happy. We will come back. We will let's step this way. Let's try again. It seems dead. We'll try once more. Right, okay, that's telling us them 3 directions are dead. Let's try this way. Ah, so you see, Now that should be clear to every single person who is watching this. We stepped south, dead. We stepped north, dead. We stepped west, and it was dead. We've stepped to the east. We now have... oh, goodness sake. Okay, well, I've got to finish because I don't want to cut this and start another episode. Let's see. No, I'm going to have to cut it here because there's about another 15 to 20 minutes to go. Wherever you are in the world, God bless you, and may you keep every single last one of you safe. Have a fantastic day. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry that we're having to go to another episode to conclude this, but you can see the Gamester's logic is proving to be useful. If not totally crazy, at least useful. So hopefully I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.